Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Kyle here with a Theta price action update. And I see Theta's putting in a little bit of a bounce today, giving us some green price action starting out the week. So that's nice to see. We do see Theta up 11% on the day over here. We see T-Fuel up close to 6%, and we see Theta versus Bitcoin up close to 0.5% at the time of recording. So nice to see a little bit of relief coming in starting out the trading week here. Now, one thing we were talking about in the last analysis was this purple liquid zone here. We saw it serve as heavy resistance back in this area. We saw it serve as support off these two wicks here, producing a really nice bounce to the upside. And of course, after this big red lightsaber to the downside, coming in on that convincing volume, now we look for the SR flip. So the former support becoming future resistance. And we have been seeing that even off the initial bounce right here. We saw price action come up, and that wick literally touched the top side of the liquid zone and closing the last couple candle bodies down below that to follow. And then, of course, in the last couple of days, we saw wicks getting up to the bottom side of that, and then ultimately price action did roll over, and we spoke about that. We talked about if price action was to get below the 200 EMA here, that's likely going to come down and stab the 200 simple moving average. And I see that it did do that, and so far is producing a fairly good bounce from that region as the daily looks to regain that 200 EMA. And technically speaking, that is a higher low than this wick back here for those of you that like to go off wicks. So my conditions to the upside remain the same. What we're seeing here is we are seeing that the moving averages are getting a bit more aggressive as time goes on here, getting those aggressive slopes to the downside. And again, the moving averages serve as support to the upside. So we're going to see SR flips on those as well, the form of support becoming future resistance. So it's fair to think that there's going to be a little bit of resistance along the way with those moving averages as Theta tries to undo some of this damage here. But it's also notable to say too that Theta is just moving with the rest of the market. We all know that when Bitcoin decides to dump to the downside, that it grabs the rest of the market by the ankles and pulls it down with it. Now, technically speaking, Bitcoin has not broken the weekly structure just yet. Yes, we have some daily downtrends. We have one on Theta here. So we have the all-time high, lower low, lower high, and at the very least, we'll get a lower low. So daily downtrend as the market goes through this really nasty correction at the very least. So what we're observing here is midterm bearish price action. And that's just alongside Bitcoin. However, we haven't seen Bitcoin break a very key level to the downside. And if you're not following along with my Bitcoin analysis, I just put one out. Feel free to stay on top of those, as I'll be putting them out more frequently because, again, if Bitcoin dumps, it's going to disrupt the rest of the alt market until we see that change in the future. And perhaps one day we do. So at the end of the day, this price action isn't telling me that something changed fundamentally about Theta. And as a matter of fact, I don't think anything fundamentally changed with Bitcoin either. We've seen a really nice bull market for a while here. Things got very extended, very exuberant. Literally everybody that was hitting the green buy button was experiencing profits. And at some point in time, we know that markets go through pullbacks as well as corrections. And at the very least, that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a correction take place. And you know, if I was to guess, I mean, this is just a guess, I would say that perhaps perhaps a bottom is stuck in for now, and perhaps we grind it out for a couple months before we start to see some really significant price action to the upside. But of course, it's just an opinion. We look to the technical analysis to make plans. So technically speaking, my conditions remain the same. The first thing I want to see is I want to see this liquid zone get taken out. We know that there's sellers present here. We see the wicks getting in there. We see wicks getting to the bottom side. So the sellers are getting more and more aggressive in this area. So we want to see the bulls overwhelming that. And that will become very obvious when we see a daily candle shoot through that area and close through that area. That's telling us that, hey, the sellers in that area got overwhelmed, at least for the time being. And if that happens, we're going to look to the 0.382. That's coming in at $8.46. When we look left there, we see that was support on this wick here, as well as this wick here, on this price action in that area there. And then we see it as resistance there. So it's fair to say that there could be some sellers present in that area. So our short-term target as the bounce gets going here is we're going to watch that 0.382. Now there's levels up above that I'm obviously paying attention to, but I'm finding that's just a bit confusing when I start getting way too ahead of myself. So I think for the time being that I bring these updates quite frequently, we'll just keep it simple and we'll look at the most relevant areas in the shorter term timeframes. And that's going to be for me, first of all, the liquid zone with the top side coming in at $8.20 roughly, and then that bottom side coming in at $7 and $7.38. We'll just say $7.50. And then up above that, we're going to see the 0.382 at $8.46. So that's going to be our short-term interest to the upside. And we'll assess the price action as it gets up there, as these are certainly times for cautious. It's good to be cautious around these times when Bitcoin is doing what it's doing, when it's messing around, doing crazy things, because if it continues to dump, well, it's likely that the alt sector is going to dump with it. Until I see a change of behavior in this market, and I've been tracking it for a long time, that's just going to be my bias. If Bitcoin decides to dump and wreck the market, likely even the good alts like Theta are going to get wrecked alongside it. Until I see that change in the future, that's just the way it's been in the past. So we have to respect that. Now, if Theta does get rejected here at the 0.236, then if it begins to roll, then again, I'm going to be watching this horizontal here at $5. Getting below that, I'm going to be watching the liquid zone down below, coming in at the top side around $4 and a bottom side coming in around $3.50. So those are my areas of interest in both scenarios of upside and if price actions to roll over. Confirmation for that is going to be taking out the 200 EMA again, or in this case, getting rejected in the next 4 hours and 47 minutes. Then perhaps we'd be looking for that downside target to be initiated. Dropping down to the momentum oscillators, we see the RSI in the bearish control zone, looking like it wants to give it on a shot to get out of there. So that'd be nice to see, as that could fuel the fire of a little bit of a relief rally. Down below in the stochastics, we see them swerving around, struggling to maintain a pressure up scenario here. They are in the bullish control zone, so we're looking for some follow through there. We want to see them start to diverge away from one another and get a nice aggressive slope to the upside. So we do have the positive cross already in play here. Now we want to see the follow through on those. Down below in the MACD histogram is suggesting a loss of negative momentum, so let's track that over the coming days as well. Let's drop into a 4-hour chart, see if anything's going on in the short-term time frames. And what are we seeing here? Right here, we're seeing a potential bullish divergence being formed. I mean, that's if you're going off candle body closures. I mean, we do technically have a higher low in play right here with this wick versus this wick back here. But we are seeing the RSI try to hint at a little bit of strength here as it does get out of the bearish control zone into the neutral zone. And we are seeing the EMA get out of the bearish control zone as well. So that's hinting that there could be some buy pressure left in this bounce. And I do think that there is. Dropping down below to the stochastics, we see momentum up, looking good there in the very short term. We see the MACD histogram trying to print us another island of positive momentum. So we are starting to see some signs that the shorter term time frames want to undo some damage here. Let's jump into the price action here. We're seeing price action try to get back up above not only the 10, the 21, but also the 30 as well. And as you can see in the last little while, we saw the 21 acting as resistance here. We saw the 30 as resistance here. So touching a bit on how the moving averages can serve as resistance. So there's support at one point in time, then they become resistance. And that's what we're seeing right there. But we're also seeing that, sorry, I'm just trying to get rid of that circle there. We're also seeing that price action is looking to get back up above, on closing basis, above the 10, 21, and 30. So that would be a positive thing to see on the very, very short term. So let's keep our eyes on that as well. If that damage can get undone, get above that 236, then perhaps we're going to make another stab at this liquid zone down below. And perhaps that'll start to have some downstream effects on the higher time frames that would give us more of a rally versus a bounce. So that would be nice to see. So we'll keep track of that as well. So overall, it looks like Theta on the short term is going to attempt to try to undo some of this damage. Of course, we're going to use confirmations, and of course, we're going to pay very close attention to those levels. We'll take things level by level as price action either works its way to the upside, or even if price action works to the downside. I always love to have those conditions set in place for both sides so that I can adapt and change my ideas as new data reveals itself. It becomes my responsibility during those times that if I'm seeing, for instance, a clear daily downtrend, I have to acknowledge that, and I have to accept that that is what's going on within the chart. That's what's happening between the buyers and sellers, so that I can formulate a clear-minded, actionable plan as what to do next if certain conditions get met. It simply helps me make a plan, preserve my capital, and helps me in scenarios of buy the dip or sell the rip. It helps me plan towards those kinds of scenarios along the way. So we'll take things level by level here. Let's see if this bounce can get moving here. And of course, I've set those targets in place for us to all be paying very close attention to. So hopefully you're all doing well out there. It's nice to see some green entering the market. Let's see if the market can get its ass in gear and continue to give us that green throughout the week. That would be nice. Let's see if these shorter term timeframes can spill into the higher term timeframes and see what the future offers up for us. Anyhow, thanks so much for coming by and checking out this video. Hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to seeing the next one. And until I do, have yourselves a powerful day.